Hi, Randy Johnson here. Thank you for joining me for this series on the absolute essentials of faith. This week, we're talking about never-ending judgment for those who refuse to believe. Let's watch the video and find out what that's all about.
Well, the reason that it's eternal judgment is because at the time, two things. The time when these judgments take place, the second judgment in particular, and the change of nature of the physical body of human beings at the time this judgment takes place. You see, when we talk about the first resurrection, we like to talk about the resurrection of our bodies and the fact that there will be no more pain, there will be no more sickness, there will be no more death. And that's glorious, that's wonderful, that's true. But the thing is, when men are resurrected and women are resurrected from the dead, whether it's in the first resurrection or whether it's in the second resurrection, the new body given to them by God will not die. It won't die. That's what makes the judgment eternal. Because where you end up is where you end up. And it doesn't change. Whether a year goes by, whether 10 years goes by, whether 100 years goes by, whether 1,000 years goes by, whether 50 million years goes by. You are in the place of eternal judgment. Whether it's in the new heaven and the new earth that God is creating, in which dwells righteousness, or whether it's in this lake of fire. There's only one of two places to be once we reach that second judgment. That's one of the elementary principles of the teaching of Christ. The judgment doesn't take place on earth, but before the throne of God. This judgment takes place after the second resurrection changes the form of our physical bodies from what they are now to what God determines them to be. And this judgment determines whether or not we get to live in the new heavens and the new earth, or we are shut out and cast into the lake of fire. Eternal judgment. And here's the good news. Nobody has to go to hell. Nobody has to spend eternity in the lake of fire. Nobody has to. You see, at the very beginning of these passages we've been studying, there's a statement here. It says, "For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe." What is the word of righteousness? The word of righteousness is that that righteousness comes through faith. That's why Paul said, I want to know Christ. Not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but the righteousness that is from God, and it is by faith. He says in Romans that now a righteousness from God has been made known, to which the law and the prophets testify. This righteousness from God comes through faith in Jesus Christ to everyone who believes. And there's so many people that think just because they came to an altar of prayer or they responded to an evangelist call and came up and just prayed a little prayer, that means that they are eternally saved from the second death. That is not true. Faith is not passive. Faith is active. He died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but should live for him who died for them and was raised again. To have genuine faith in Christ changes your life. You stop living for yourself. You stop living for the things of this world. You stop living for this earth. and you start putting your eyes towards heaven. You start putting your eyes toward the first resurrection. You start putting your eyes toward the prize of the high calling of God that is in Christ Jesus. That's what it means to live by faith. It means that you love Him and you serve Him with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And He gives you the promise of the first resurrection and the first judgment and the second death having no power over you anymore. I want to be in the first judgment, don't you?
I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you can have notifications of future videos. Also, be sure to leave some comments down below. God bless you. Have a good week.